What's going on, Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans? It's your man, Big Game James. That's right, former Bucs defensive tackle James Canada, and this is Game's Pewter Perspective. Hey, do me a favor. Please make sure you like, subscribe, smash that bell so you know every time that I'm dropping brand new content here on the BGSE network, where sports and entertainment collide. Man, I want to come out and say I owe Baker Mayfield an apology. I can say that and hold my head up high because I always say this. Whenever I'm wrong, I'm not the one that will not admit that he was wrong. I wanted Kyle Trask to be the Buccaneers quarterback in 2023. And so far this season, I think Baker Mayfield has stamped his approval. Hey, man, rewind, James. I didn't say that right. I believe, that Baker Mayfield has done enough to get the stamp of approval from Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans and the organization. Baker Mayfield has had a rough ride. You know what I'm saying? You look at the first couple years in the league, being drafted by Cleveland, having a little success there, then things not going the way they wanted to. He leaves, he goes to Carolina. He's supposed to come in and be the savior. And for what we saw in Carolina, it was like, oh, hell to the nah. Don't bring Baker Mayfield nowhere near my organization, right? But if you stop to look at what's going on in Carolina since Baker Mayfield has left, it's clearly the organization of Carolina itself. It was never Baker, because even that year when he left and went to LA to play with the Rams, he had some success. And it was like, okay, Baker Mayfield is not horrible. He is still serviceable, and he is a former first-round draft pick. He can do some decent things. Brady retires. The Buccaneers are in need of a quarterback. Everyone's panicking. There's nothing really there in the draft for where we draft. We have to go get Baker Mayfield. Lo and behold, right now on the season, Baker Mayfield's not doing a bad job. I mean, if you just had to compare him to some other numbers that are in the NFL right now, the quarterback position, and some of these guys are in MVP conversation. Let's just, let's just break the numbers down real quick. So far this season, we know the Buccaneers are 8-7. We went on a little 3-game skid where we're losing. We just got back on a win streak. Good game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. If we just win one of these last two, we're definitely going to win the NFC South and make it to the playoffs. I believe Baker's going to help get that done. We got the Saints at home, Carolina on the road. We should be able to win both of these games and finish this season at 10-7. Needless to say, let's look at these numbers real quick for Baker Mayfield. 322 completions, 3,598 yards, 27 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. The interceptions are a little bit higher than I want them to be, and I didn't even break down his rushing stats. I'll pull that up here in a second. But Baker Mayfield is doing a very decent job. I mean, I'm going to say something that's going to sound crazy. Again, shout out to my boy Peter Blake on the Sports Web. He asked this question to ESPN Sal Palantonio, and Sal Palantonio was like, yeah, maybe. He asked, should Baker Mayfield be in the MVP discussions? Now, off stats alone, compared to Lamar Jackson, Lamar Jackson's stats, 289 completions, 3,357 yards, 19 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Not the greatest of numbers. Now, we know Lamar has more running yards on top of that, but you look at the Ravens' record, they only have 3 losses, right? So in comparison, an MVP is going to be a difference maker on that team. He's going to be that guy, and he's going to have to produce wins. Another quarterback in this league that people have highly touted, and they're clearly blaming his receivers, is Patrick Mahomes. I mean, if you look at Mahomes, what he's done so far this season, 380 completions, 3,938 yards, 26 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, but they just keep saying that he doesn't have the right receivers, and missing parts is why Kansas City is not having the success this year that they've had in the past. I'm going to just say this. Baker Mayfield, I believe, has earned a contract extension or another contract with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If I'm the Bucs, I believe that we can build around Baker Mayfield, put some more pieces around him, give him 2 years, a 2-year contract. You can still get another young quarterback coming up this year, or find someone else the following year Trask is still a decent backup for Baker, and you get a chance to maybe add offensive line depth, defensive end depth, secondary help for sure in those rounds, the draft when it comes up. And let's just get ready to go make a decent playoff run. I believe that this team is getting hot at the right time, that they can win some games going into the playoffs. At least the first round game. I do believe that. I mean, I am a fan, but yet I still try to be realistic when it comes to the game of football and what can or can't be done. I believe the Buccaneers get that done. But needless to say, I believe that the Buccaneers have a serviceable quarterback. He may not be the difference maker, but he can be the game manager that we need. And in some of those tough losses that we had as Buccaneer fan, as a Buccaneer fan, I had to clearly look and say, yo, that was the defense. It wasn't the offense at all. So Baker Mayfield, even in some of the games that we lost, had us competing, had us ready to win those games, and the defense fell short. And that's going to be an area of concern in the draft, but that's a whole nother story. But needless to say, Baker Mayfield, in Baker we trust. He's earned that QB1 role. He should get extended and be ready to come back next year to continue to help us out. Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans, please let me know what you think. Do you believe that the Buccaneers should extend Baker Mayfield's contract and give him a chance to come back to be the man again next year, or should they look for a quarterback in the draft or free agency? This is former Buccaneers defensive tackle James Canada, and this is Game's Pewter Perspective.